This is a Danger Entertainment podcast. DangerEntertainment.net. Danger Entertainment Podcast Network.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. And life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening, and with me we have Henno and Brian. Hey, guys.
Who all together?
Yeah, woo, full strength.
Yay.
Yep.
I'm sorry I wasn't here for the last episode, folks.
We
but
are too.
Trust me, you did not want to hear this voice. I still have a bit of a gravel to it, but it's not nearly what it was. So.
Yeah, but
I think
last week she sounded like she had the old smoker's cough, you know. Hey, Cookie, welcome to the crazy life. That would have been great.
Always watching you, Wazowski. I'm always watching you.
Yep.
Exactly.
We could have called you Roz all night long.
Yeah, it would have been great.
I contemplated not showing up tonight and then starting a rumor about how Jen and I are actually in a feud, which is why we never are on the same podcast together.
That's great. I like that.
That would be pretty awesome.
Yep. I remember back when on Salty Language when we had Tate on there were a couple episodes in a row where Tony wasn't on one, then Tate wasn't on the next one, and then Tony, it was something along those lines. And I actually did get a couple emails from people asking if there was something going, if they were at each other's throat or something like that. I'm like, well, how come, they're both not on the show? And I'm like, it's just life. It's,
Yeah.
the beauty of three hosts is we can continue.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, I guess in our tradition, I will have to start off our weekly recaps. So, it's been a while, so let's start with, I was sick as a dog, not COVID, tested twice, not COVID, but I was sick as a dog for 4 days straight, couldn't leave the couch.
Why is a dog a reference for being sick?
Yeah, that's a
Just
good question.
Out of curiosity.
I don't know. That is a very good one.
Yeah.
We'd have to research that one.
I'll look it up while you're
That's
talking.
Okay, that's something for Google.
Okay.
But yeah, I was absolutely wretchedly sick. My sinus was through the roof. I kept popping a fever. I had the chills. I had the sweats. I had the blah. So yeah, it was not pretty. But I finally started feeling better that following Monday. My voice didn't fully come back until the Monday after that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
yeah, at one point I was so sick and I had such a bad cough, I couldn't smoke.
Oh, no.
So I had to go 4 days without a cigarette. I got to the point where I'm like, I have to figure something out because I need nicotine. But if I lit a cigarette, I could get maybe 1 puff, 2 puffs, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not physically take anything in. So I'm like, well, I'll try an electric vape. So I tried a vape because you can control how big of a puff that you can take.
Yeah.
So I was able to kind of puff on that a little bit to take the edge off because I was getting quite cranky. So yeah, I know everyone's so thrilled to know that I'm back to smoking. Any smart person would have said 4 days without a cigarette. Well, that's a good start.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. No, not me.
Mm-hmm.
But
Jen's a problem
anyway.
solver, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a quitter, damn it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but yeah, so that happened, and then work got super interesting because my director asked me to come out to Kansas for an entire week by myself. I'm like, okay. Usually, I would travel with my manager.
Yeah.
And he's never even had her out for an entire week. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then there's a conference coming up. One of our companies that we work with is having a conference in Florida in November. And it would make sense for me to go, but it's not anything urgent or crazy. So I have to have a representative there for type of thing. But my manager saw it and she's like, you should ask John if he can go, my director. She's like, you should ask him if we can go. I said, really? You think he'd let me? She's like, ask. So I'm like, all right. So she asked on my behalf and he said yes. So I'm going down to Jacksonville for 2 days on the company dime. So I expressed to him that with this travel coming up, I am not in the position to push this out of my pocket. So I need a company card. And he said, sure. So I have a company credit card. Now, it's got a $5,000 limit.
Oh, my.
We have discussed on the podcast before. Cards with money are not a good thing for me at all.
Yeah.
And especially one that holds such power as this. Because if I misuse the card in any way, shape, or form, I could immediately be fired.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Well, and you should be if you misuse the
Absolutely.
card. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so now I'm having to figure out how I'm going to be responsible and treat this in the way I need to treat it.
Right.
So far it's going okay. It's going good. The one solid piece that I've had in my life this entire year has been my job.
Yeah.
And it's seemingly going very, very well. So, yeah. I told my group that I go to, I told my meeting what was going on, and they all, eyes huge, skin white.
Right,
Just
because this
staring
is
at me,
giant, like, red flag, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is bad. This is
Right.
bad. I'm like, I know, I have no other option now. It's like, I have no other option.
Yeah, because it's not like if they handed you cash, it would be any better, so.
Right. Honestly, it would be better.
Actually, yeah, it would. Yeah, you're right.
Because I would have less opportunity to use it.
Yeah.
But regardless, I am in the position I'm in, so I will have to be an adult about it.
Did they have any sort of a solution for you? Or not solution necessarily, but a suggestion?
Keep it out of my hands unless I'm absolutely happy to have it.
That's absolutely smart. Yeah. Don't carry it. Yeah. Don't have it on your person.
Give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Have them hold it and get it from them right before you travel.
Yeah. That's a smart move.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're working off of for now. It's interesting. And then, what I'm going to meet with my director tomorrow to find out an agenda for when I'm out there. Cause he specified he wanted me to come in on Sunday, so I could be there Monday morning, first thing Monday morning, and stay to Friday afternoon.
Okay.
So he wants me for an entire week.
Right.
The things that we've discussed up to this point that he wants to go over with me are stuff we can either do through Teams or we could do when he comes to town.
Yeah.
Or day or two, we can get everything accomplished.
Did you happen to ask, like, why he wants you to come out there instead?
No, because he's the type that if he told me anything, it would not be the full truth.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
That's a really weird statement, but okay.
I know.
Huh.
He likes to play things. He likes to play games. He likes to keep things close to his vest. So if I asked him what I was really going out there for, he would make something up, or he would like overgloss things, like you're going to be doing this for a couple days or something like that. When in actuality, he knows what he wants from me. He's just not ready to tell me yet.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah.
Okay.
I know. He's a unique one. I'm learning how to communicate better with him. Yeah.
Fair enough.
How?
Yeah, like I don't see it either.
Communicate with someone that won't be honest with you and uses it as a power trip.
Oh, I know.
How does one improve communication?
Well, I've learned that always form things it's basically like playing Jeopardy. You have to phrase it in a form of a question to make him feel like he's answering and helping you. So that's step 1.
Okay.
Step 2, whatever he says, no matter how crazy it is, you just say, okay, I will think about that. I will look into that. Let me see what I can come up with. Because no arguing with him, no explaining yourself, no justifications, none of that will work. And just accept the fact that even though your role in the problem is like 1% of the situation, it is all your fault. And you have to fix it. Yes. It's a very big one on correlation correlation equals causality.
Mm-hmm.
Huge one on that one.
Yeah. So you were nearby that disaster.
Yeah.
It's your fault.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
That makes sense.
Exactly. This happened at the exact same time that this happened. So thus we need to fix it because this caused that to happen. Like, no, it really didn't.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. But we're going to add an extra step to your process because we need to say that we did something. Got it. So it's supposed to be a fun week. Then I also found out that in the bottom first floor of my hotel is one of the best bourbon bars in the entire city.
That's not where I thought you were going to go with that for a second. I thought you were going to say like some sort of casino or something. I was like, oh no.
Oh no. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
And I did find 2 meetings out in the same area I'm going to be in.
Good.
So I can go to a meeting on Monday or Thursday, or Monday and Thursday, depending on how I'm feeling. So I did my research. I'm going to a conference this weekend for said group that I'm involved with, which is going to be an absolute blast. They have 24-hour therapy. So it's on all night. So everyone stays up all night and just therapies together.
Wow.
Huh.
Right? So I'm really, really interested in that. And I have a feeling it's going to get pretty down and dirty. So I bought waterproof mascara, waterproof eyeliner. Because as we all know, a new box of Kleenex, couple of them probably. Because we all know I'm an emotional girl. So.
Yep.
But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. And it's just been like September is super busy, crazy. And I am trying my best to keep my feet underneath me.
Yeah.
And not slip one way or another. The meds are still going really strong, really good. My magic med is definitely plateaued. We're at the point that I'm starting to question it a little bit. But if we plateau at this stage and this is it, then I'll continue with this medicine and for longevity and see where we go.
Yeah.
But if it stops working anymore than it's done already, I think I need to try to something different. Not that there's much different that I can try, but you never know.
Mm-hmm.
Always worth conversation with the doctors.
Yep.
So, well, I guess that brings you up to speed on all my fun stuff. How about you guys? Who's next?
All right, well, before we move any further, the origin of the phrase sick as a dog can be found in the early 1700s when it was common to compare undesirable things to dogs. The explanation for this isn't that people didn't like dogs, it's that diseases such as the plague were often spread via animals like rats, birds, and unfortunately dogs.
There you go.
So that's a pretty terrible reason for it, but here we are. Yeah.
Now you know.
Yep. So
where's the knowledge gong?
Yeah. Gong. Wrong show, Heno. Also, I don't know if we'd be able to hear it anyway. Or something's going on. There's strange things afoot with that soundboard. Like some of the sounds.
And FYI, everybody out there, it is a full harvest moon this weekend. So people are going to be nutty. Just saying.
Because they're people. Not because of the moon, but just because they're people.
Hey, there's all sorts of stuff on the interwebs that talks about the correlation between a full moon and people.
Yeah. There's a
little bit of that science stuff involved in it.
There's a lot of things on the internet, though.
But even a little bit of science stuff's involved in it.
Right.
I'm telling you. People in lab coats. Gotta believe the people in lab coats.
Well, that's what commercials want us to believe, yeah. You put someone in a lab coat, they're instantly credible. No matter if their doctorate is in the area that, that are on there or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Continue on. Who's next?
I'll go next since Heno has our article for the week, or topic, I should say, whatever. It's been pretty quiet for me, but I've really been going through just not like a real introvert cycle. That's the best way I can put it. Is I just don't want really to interact. I've been sleeping quite a bit lately and all that kind of stuff, and it's just, I don't know. It's weird because it's I know something isn't right, but also, it sucks when you're in these things because you also kind of don't care that something, you're like, yeah, but I'll just lay here in bed and that's fine. I had therapy finally last week and that was nice, but it also kind of sucks because when you don't go for months, basically the whole thing is kind of like, oh, well, here's what's been going on. You almost kind of can't address like where you are now. Because you need to fill them in on some stuff that maybe leads to that or whatever. But it was still a good session. It's just, kind of stinks that, it had been since April since I had been in. But that, like I said, that was nice. And again, walked out feeling lighter and felt like I had a little help for a few things, which is, what you're looking for. So that's always a good sign. And I was all excited to finally get going on my dental appointments. I think I talked on here about how I went in and had to come back because of my x-rays, because my insurance wouldn't pay until the 5-year mark had passed for the full set or whatever. So I had to wait 2 weeks. Well, 2 weeks came up. I go in. I get in there. There's nobody in the office, like, when I get up there. And then finally this lady just comes, like, wandering out from the back, and she's like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "I have an appointment 10 minutes ago." And she's like, "There's nobody here today." And I was like, "Okay." I'm like, "I have an appointment." She can't, make it happen, but she goes, oh, we tried to call you. And she's like, it says on here that we left a message that we needed to reschedule. And I'm like, I never got a message, that you guys called. I was like, which, really is irrelevant at this point because, here we are,
Yeah.
And she goes, well, I can, reschedule you. And I'm like, well, yeah, obviously, because there's no dentist and there's no assistants or anything there. So clearly nothing's happening today, so I'm like, yeah, please. And she's like, it'll be, a little while before we can get you back in. And I was like, I've already been putting this off for like 2 years, I finally get this going, and now because of you guys, it's, or my insurance, and now you guys, you're adding like 3 months to this almost. I was like, okay, so yeah, November is my next appointment.
Whoa.
They got me on their waiting list, so if someone cancels, and my luck, it'll be somebody will cancel an 8:30 in the morning appointment, and I'll be like, nope,
right.
Like no chance I'm coming in, So I'm thinking there's a few other dentists right around here. I'm thinking I'm going to call them and see if they take my insurance. And if so, I think I'm going to move, because I think what it is where I go, since it's, it's a low income place. I think the dentists there are not full time. And I think they only schedule one dentist per day, basically. So if one calls off, basically they can do cleanings. That's all they can do from that point on. Because even if they do your x-rays, the dentist has to do the next step. So there's really no point in having people come in for x-rays just to have to come back for the dentist to then say, here's the game plan,
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. And so whatever. It's like, it's just so damn frustrating because, like I said, I understand I'm the one who put it off. I mean, not at first, because, there was the whole COVID thing that put it off for a good, I think it was like a year that they were closed basically, or so. And even after that, they were doing mostly just emergency stuff for a while because they were catching up on all the people who couldn't come in the previous time, and by the time they finally got open again, then yeah, I put it off from there. But, it just stinks when it just keeps, just keeps rolling forward. And, I'm good about going to the dentist, but it's still an anxiety thing because it's still, have to leave my house. And it's frustrating because this isn't the first time this has happened where I've gone in there and they're like, oh yeah, we called and left you a message. I'm like, it's funny because I never get a message from you. Like, and you have my home number as well as my cell phone numbers. Like, could you maybe also call the home number or switch them so you call the home number instead? We have a answering machine and leave it on there, because maybe I've had issues with my phone in the past where I don't get a message until like a week later, but it's rare. It's once in a great while. Real weird that the last 2 times you guys have told me you called and left a message, I didn't get it. Like nothing showed at all. So, I was like, I think they called and they just hung up. I don't think they actually left a message. So, yeah, good fun. But, whatever. All I can do is, what I did with it. I can't change it at all. The only thing I can do is, like I said, is maybe, call around to other dentists and see if there's one available. Because the previous dentist I had, which was your, cousin, Jen?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever,
Yes.
If this had happened there, I would have been in the next week.
Yeah.
They would have been like, okay, we'll make something, or we got something for you next week. Especially when all I'm going in for is to get literally 2 x-rays and then the dentist looks at them. It's amazing to me. It's like, you can't budget out 10 minutes in there somewhere for that,
Mm-hmm.
Cause I even asked the woman, I was like, cause she was like November 2nd. And I was like, do you have some, I was like, are you looking because I normally ask for middle of the day? And she was like, oh no, I'm just looking for first available. I was like, oh geez, so, oh well. But yeah, that's, it's just been that. And then, like I said, I haven't really felt like going out and doing a whole lot. So I really haven't been. And it's, I really haven't been doing much at home either. I haven't really even been watching all that much like TV or playing games or anything. I just kind of drifting the last week or two. So I don't know.
Seems like you might want to get in to see the doctor, though. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're just spending that much time drifting,
Yeah.
then
Well,
that may be time to kind of adjust things.
Well, that's the thing is like I go through stuff like this, and then usually after a couple of weeks I'm good. That's where it's a lot of times I'll just kind of wait and see from that first. But yeah, I was kind of planning on talking to him a little bit anyway because I'm wondering. It's tough though too, because I'm still waiting. My therapist was supposed to respond to me. I don't know if she did or not. I haven't checked today. About setting me up an appointment with the psychiatrist so that I can talk to him about ADHD. So I don't, it's like I kind of want to do that before I really try switching other medicines that I may end up switching anyway. Because if I go on something for ADHD, I may not be on the same medicine that I'm in. So, whatever. But I'm okay. It's just, it's just the kind of blah right now. Mm-hmm. Also, it doesn't help for me that, like tonight we went out to grab something to eat and, you feel that it's fall type air, even though I'm not going to be the fall's here type because I know how a calendar works. But, it's very much, you can tell, like at night it's in the 60s. It's, it's certainly getting close, and I know fall's only 2 weeks away basically. So, or 2.5 weeks, whatever. So it isn't too far away, but it's the idea that, you kind of, it's kind of depressing because I don't like fall. I like fall, but the problem is like in this area, you always look past fall. Because that means winter is next. And, that's when it gets sucked.
I love fall. Fall is my favorite time of year, and I will happily sit through the end of September and through October to see the pretty trees.
Yeah. That's why I said, it's that plus, the vegetables I've been watering and everything, picking. It's like I know, we're only X amount of time before that's kind of over with because it'll start, we'll start getting frost. I mean, not right away, but I think they said on the news, our in this area, our first frost is usually in October. So, we're not that far away from it.
See, January, February, and March are the months that can, suck an egg.
Yeah.
But the rest of the year's not bad.
Yeah.
July and August gets a little toasty and, a little hot under the collar.
Yeah, but it's not like California now, toasty.
Exactly.
So yeah.
That's toasty for us.
Yeah. Our humidity is the worst part. It's not the heat, it's the humidity.
Yes. It's not a dry heat here,
nope.
folks.
Mm-mm.
Nope. Mm-mm.
Well, and people don't understand that like where we live, that we get extra humidity because we're real close to a lake, and it packs the humidity onto our area. You wouldn't think so.
And we're built on a swamp,
right? You wouldn't think so because it's Ohio, Michigan area, but it's pretty bad. So yeah. Anyway, so
the whole swamp thing doesn't help our
cows. No, that's true. So, all right, Henno, how about you?
Yeah, let's see. Played some gigs.
Nice.
Had a great gig last weekend. That was fun. Had a Labor Day that was free of Labor Day because my Labor Day is before everybody else's.
Oh, right.
So right.
Thursday,
schedule.
Friday, Saturday, yeah. Which is great. I went to Boise on Thursday night and went to a cool class with a new group of people that I'd never met before. So always fun to get out there and do something different.
Nice.
And and did some stuff around the house. Like I said, we play our little farmers market. It's not for the money because there is none, pretty much.
Right.
But it's a great. You just see local people, people that generally aren't coming out to see live music at night. So get to see. It starts early in the morning, and and I think we had one of our best gigs. It's kind of fun for one that just didn't really matter.
Right.
Yeah, it's great. But a lot of music going on right now. I'm just trying to get other, new band going, and there's some people are really interested in it. And now it's a matter of like, okay, there's always opportunity. The more people you bring in, but the more people you bring in, things shape. You know,
Especially
and like everyone
adults.
says, yeah, and that everyone
Yeah.
knows about the story about how, you know, a band is like, you know, a 4-piece band is like having, you know, you and 3 other relationships.
Yeah.
And, you know, and now imagine 5.
Right.
And it's been a long time since I've done 5 members of a band. But, you know, we're trying to see what kind of options there are. And the best part is just being very open-minded. And I'm really enjoying that. And the drummer I play with, Dave, he's always like, you know, I'm still, you know, I haven't heard your, you know, like, what do you want to do and stuff? And I'm like, I've given you what I've got for now. I said, the rest of it, I'm ready to just let things go where they go. And try not to direct too much. Try not to, you know, and until the time is right. And then it's like, okay, then I'll step up and do what we need to do to move things forward. So it's been nice to have that. And I think it's carrying into my work also. Like we're really busy right now because I'm trying to do the smart thing and get a nice jump ahead on our budgeting time and get things taken care of beforehand, find the bugs, find all those things that you're like, oh, I wish we had more time to, you know, review this. We would have gotten this done. And we are, now that people are leaving, now's our, you know, like you're saying, transitioning from summer into fall and then winter is on the maintenance standpoint, our busiest time. Mm-hmm. And, but the days go by fast. I mean, it's just, you just get in, you just do it.
Yeah.
You know? So that's been nice, and I got some new glasses.
Nice.
Very nice.
Today, yeah. I actually really liked them, and they weren't. This is two times in a row that they didn't end up being the most expensive ones.
That's
Don't you love when that happens?
That's how I am too. I mean, with the insurance I have, I'm basically they're on the like, you know, I'm on the scratch and dent rack, but you know, normally whenever I go in and I look at glasses, I'm like, oh, these are the ones that fit my face right, or blah, blah, blah. And we always be like, oh, those are also.
And you look at that price. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some designer brand, you know, and they're like $800 for the frames alone. And I'm like, nope. Like, there's no way this is out of pocket for sure, you know, and my insurance is only going to pay probably like $200, you know, the rest would all be mine. So no thanks. I already pay for like the or what do you call it? The film for like when you're staring at screens. That's out of pocket. My insurance won't cover that, which blows my mind because the reason you get that is because it's a like health benefit. You know, it's good for your eyes to have that anti-glare stuff on there, but you know, whatever. Or the blue light blocking stuff, whatever it's called.
Yeah, I had that choice. They said either screen or night driving. And I tend to wear my glasses more for night driving than I do for staring at a screen.
Well, it seems like that's probably more important also because, you know, helping you see it while you're driving seems like, you know, that might save your life. Watch, you know, not being able to stare at your screen as easily is, you know, a little secondary, I guess.
Yeah.
But you could just buy those TV commercial glasses for night driving, you know?
There you go. Seriously. But I'm not the best night driver because I have astigmatism. Well, this gentleman that I'm dating is also not the best night driver because he has astigmatism. Now, the one saving grace that we do have is he drives a Tesla. So, as he calls it,
oh God,
Elon, take the wheel.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say also that thing's probably got those whatever those super super bright headlights are, to where you can see miles down the road.
It is scary as all get out when Elon is at the wheel and is driving on the expressway and makes a curve.
Yeah.
It is so freaky to get used to that.
Oh,
because
I'm sure.
Literally, I mean, it does its own thing. And you don't really need to do anything. And the wheel will turn on its own volition and will follow the road. And it's creepy as heck.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is really creepy, but
I'm sure it is, especially with you as a person who drives. Like for me, it'd be creepy because I'd be like, no one has control, you know, and I'd be freaking out because of that. But that's my own thing. But I can't imagine like somebody who's a driver would be like, you know, like why aren't your hands on the wheel? This isn't right.
Yeah, it is. It is very, very creepy and very scary. So you can kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But thankfully we have that going for us. Yeah. When I mentioned that I was not a good night driver, he's like, huh, funny.
I'm not either. So
Yeah, this is true. Yeah.
actually,
I
I wouldn't be for the exact same reason. Actually, like even if I did drive, I wouldn't drive much at night because I do have some issues with my vision at night. Like I don't have the best vision anyway, as evidenced by my giant glasses. But then at night, there's, especially if it's not well lit, I have some real issues with stuff.
Well, the best way, and I highly recommend this for folks that either know someone with astigmatisms or have them themselves, go online and there's some really amazing photographs of how we see things at night. And it's really interesting because it's like how you see things at night, how you see things at night when it's raining.
Yeah.
And it is crazy. It really is. And I 100% see it. I mean, that's every time at night. I literally get starbursts and streamers flying at me as I'm driving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah. As someone who's been in a car with Jen, when it starts raining real hard at night, I can attest to that. Like, it's not a good scene.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I can't see anything. Like when it's raining at night, I can't see the lines. Yeah. I have a hard time seeing driveways, turn off roads and stuff like
Pedestrians,
that.
right.
Pedestrians.
Yeah.
Yes. Ducks.
Yeah.
I knew I'd get you with that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Hannah. We have completely bogarted your time. I apologize.
It's all right. It was just reminding me of times when I get in the car with Sharon and she says about something about not being able to see something because she doesn't have her glasses on. I'm just like, pull over right now.
Yeah, right. Well, usually what I do, like I know I used to do this with Jen at times, would be I knew I could see better than her, so it was kind of, I'd be like, like you're fine, and you just kind of talk to him like like you need to move a little right or left. And it's frightening that essentially, like, it's like, being a rally car driver.
Backseat driving.
Yeah, well, no, it's like being in a rally car. The person driving, and then the person in the right's got the book that tells you where everything is. And they're like, right, left, 100 feet right, right, so it's like that, It's not that scary. It was just like if there's something they can't see as well, I can usually, like, you have enough space here, there's nothing coming, that kind of stuff,
It's funny because it's true.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's about it. I'm just going to move on to our topic.
All right.
Sounds good.
5 powerful mindset shifts to stop worrying about what other people think.
Yes.
By Sandy Woznicki. And this is off Tiny Buddha. You can find the link in the show notes. And it starts with a quote that says, care about what other people think and you will always be their prisoner. Lao Tzu.
Good advice.
She starts with, we carefully pick out what we wear to the gym to make sure we look good in the eyes of other gym goers. We beat ourselves up after meetings running through everything we said or didn't say. Worried that coworkers will think we aren't smart or talented enough. We post only the best picture out of the 27 selfies we took and add a flattering filter to get the most likes to prove to ourselves that we are pretty and likable. We live in other people's heads. And all it does is make us judge ourselves more harshly. It makes us uncomfortable in our own bodies. It makes us feel apologetic for being ourselves. It makes us live according to our perception of other people's standards. It makes us feel inauthentic, anxious, judgmental, not good enough, not likable enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough. Well, I say F that stuff. She didn't say stuff.
She said
the truth
is,
gotcha. Yeah. She said she said
a no.
She said bad word. The truth is, other people's opinions of us are none of our business.
Yep.
Isn't that great?
Yep.
Other people's opinions of us are none of our business.
Well, not just that. We don't know what they're thinking. We are assuming. We are guessing. We are putting all of our stuff onto them. They may not even be thinking twice about you.
Yep.
And their opinions have nothing to do with us and everything to do with them, their past, their judgments, their expectations, their likes, and their dislikes.
Yep.
Yep. So she goes a little bit more on, but I'm going to jump into the 5. Number 1, know your values. Knowing your top core values is like having a brighter flashlight to get you through the woods. A duller light may still get you where you need to go, but you'll stumble more or be led astray. With a brighter light, the decisions you make, left or right, up or down, yes or no, become clearer and easier to make.
Kind of funny that that's in there since we were just talking about not being able to see at night and stuff.
Yeah. For years, I had no idea what I truly valued, and I felt lost in life as a result. I never felt confident in my decisions, and I questioned everything I said I did. And I so relate to this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So relate.
Absolutely.
She goes on some more, but I will let you, the listener, go and check it out yourself. I just right away was like, so my whole theory of life was to never say never, because if I close off options, who knows what I might miss out on.
Mm-hmm.
It was about keeping all options open. It was about having, I'm open-minded to the possibilities. I'm free. I'm a free spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't realize is it was a paradox, and I was actually limiting myself all the time. Because most of the reasons why I didn't want to commit to something was because I was thinking of somebody else in a picture. It wasn't about my values. It was about how might I work in with somebody else.
Yeah.
So I never strengthened my own standpoint on anything.
Right.
And I felt that I was that I was being less rigid, and so therefore there's more opportunity. And when I finally made some decisions, and like one of them being, I'm not going to have children.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and had a vasectomy.
Yeah.
I suddenly felt liberated.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When I decided I can't drink without bad things happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found more freedom in that. And it was such a fantastic paradox, and it led me on a pathway of making decisions like this about becoming honest and knowing my values, and as a result, finding way more independence.
Yeah.
And this really goes with when you're concerned with other people, what other people think.
Yeah. I did the same thing where, for years, like whether it was a situation that was the truth or whether I essentially made made up excuses to get out of stuff. Like I was saying things because I didn't want to just tell somebody no, because I didn't want to hurt their feelings. And, so like, I totally get what you're saying, because it's the same thing. Now, if I can't do something, I just say no, or I can't. And if I tell you I can't, and here's why, that's really the reason. Like, I'm not doing like I used to do, where I would, there were times where I would make stuff up. Not all the time, and honestly, not a lot of the time, but my brain does that. I've talked about it plenty of times on here, where as soon as something is supposed to come up, my brain starts trying to find a way out. Instead of trying to find reasons to stay in, my brain tries to find reasons to move, to find the exit.
Yeah.
And I found that I don't want to say I don't care what others think when I say that stuff now, but I don't let it influence my decision for the most part. There would be times that are, where I've done stuff I don't want to do or don't feel like doing because it's very important to someone else. But again, you're making that decision, when it comes down to, like I said, if I just, hey, I can't do that, I just straight out tell people. I feel, like you said, Heno, I feel so much freer in that. And then from that point, it's up to them what they think. I'm not going to stay up all night. Oh man, I hope they don't, blah, blah. It's like, I can't control it.
Yeah.
I do hope that they don't get upset. I hope they weren't hurt, because that's never my intention. But I also can't, I have to do what's best for me, or what's right for me at that time too.
My version of that was always from the people-pleasing standpoint of never wanting to say no.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of maybes. And
Yes.
now there was a whole bunch of maybes out there that
Yeah.
I was afraid
Yeah.
of.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like if I'd have just said no, I would be more liberated because I put pressure on myself
Right.
to maybe everything.
What's funny
And
though,
guilt.
like I used to say maybe all the time too, and I still do, but the main reason I used to do it's so funny because it wasn't that I couldn't commit to something. It was seriously because I have like anxiety and stomach issues, I literally don't know until the day of whether I'm going to do something or not. And, Jen's seen it in action plenty of times. The one I always go back to, and she does too, is my one brother's wedding. I was in the process of getting ready and, my stomach decided that it wasn't a good idea to leave the house. She went to get me some dress socks because I realized I had no dress socks. So she went over to Target to buy some dress socks. And when she came back, I was like, I can't go. We were that close to leaving. And that's why I would maybe everything. And it's frustrating. I understand it's so frustrating to people, but I'm telling you my truth in that aspect, even though it's really frustrating to people because they want a yes or a no. And it's like, I can't tell you that. It's like when I tell you maybe, it's really telling you I want to, but I don't know if I'll be able to. That, and it's as true as, as, honest as I can be, but it gets very difficult because people don't want maybes,
Well, the tough part with maybes is that you're not just keeping yourself in limbo, you're keeping someone else in limbo.
Yeah.
And that's the tough part about the maybes or the not answering.
Yeah.
That type of thing. If you give me a no, I can work with that.
Yeah.
Because I can ask someone else, I can make other plans, I can work with that.
Yeah.
If you say maybe, I'm stuck too. And if you say no at the last minute, then I either don't go or I go by myself.
I always was. I feel like I was pretty good about like if it was something to where somebody wanted me to go as like their date to something, and I didn't think so, I'd be like, if you can find someone else, go ahead and ask someone else, type of thing. Yeah. Because yeses backfire a lot too. That I've had people get really mad because I didn't go to their wedding, even though I RSVP'd. So I told them yes. And then didn't show up, and then they got mad because they paid for food for me or whatever. And it's like, what can you do? You can't, but again, you can't worry about that stuff. You make your decisions and go from there. So anyway.
And as long as you know your values, then you don't have to worry about what other people think about your decision. Because as long as you're going by knowing your values, you're making decisions that are core to you.
Yeah.
And if other people don't understand that, it doesn't matter to you because, like she says, now you've got your bright shine flashlight and you know your direction.
Yep.
I like it.
Well, number 2 is know to stay in your own business. Another way to stop caring about what other people think is to understand that there are 3 types of business in the world. This is a lesson I learned from Byron Katie, and I love it. The first is God's business. If the word God isn't to your liking, you can use another word here that works for you, like universe or nature.
Flying spaghetti monster.
Nature. That too. Yep. I think I like nature better, so I'll use that. The weather is nature's business. Who dies and who is born is nature's business. The body and genes you were given are nature's business. You have no place in nature's business. You can't control it. So the second type of business is...
Have they heard of CRISPR?
Yeah.
No.
The second type of business is other people's business. What they do is their business. What your neighbor thinks of you is his business. What time your coworker comes into work is her business. If the driver in the other car doesn't go when the light turns green, it's their business. Third type of business is your business. If you get angry with the other driver because you now have to wait at another red light, that's your business. If you get irritated because your coworker is late again, that's your business. If you are worried about what your neighbor thinks of you, that's your business. What they think is their business. What you think and in turn feel is your business. Whose business are you in when you're worried about what you're wearing? Whose business are you in when you dwell on how your joke was received at the party? The only reason I'm reading all this is because she says business so much and it makes me laugh. But I also want to reiterate, you only have one business to concern yourself with, yours.
I remember my dad telling me when I was younger, I remember him saying something really similar, which was, there are 2 types of business in the world, yours and not yours. And, so it was, very much in the same vein. I like the nature's part because there is an element of we'll call it unexplained basically, or like you said, the stuff you have no control over, you can't influence really. It's just gonna happen no matter what, so I like that too, but it did remind me of that with, cause there was something I was doing and he was like, that's not your business. And I'm like, yeah, but, and that's when he's like, you gotta learn.
What I like is if you can tie the two first businesses together with, nature and other people, we are so easy to accept the fact that, well, there's a rock in the way. I have to go around the rock.
Yeah.
Or it's raining now. All right, sure. You're not happy about it, but you accept it. You accept the leaves changing colors. We accept all that stuff and just move on with our lives.
I don't. I go outside and actively yell at the sky, but no.
Darn you!
There's a great, like a Simpsons bit where there's like a newspaper and it shows Grandpa Simpson. It says old man yells at the sky or something like that. Yeah. And I use it all the time because I was like, I just feel like that captures me right there.
And if we can look at other people and their business the same way, meaning it's their business and we just accept it, and accept it like the leaves changing colors and the giant rock in the way.
Yeah.
Then things would be so much easier.
It's true. It really is because you immediately, well, not you, but we as a people tend to want them to behave how we would behave in that scenario, or how we want them to behave in the scenario. Let me reword it that way. Like we want them to move the rock. Like, we want the rock to move. Like, why can't the rock grow legs and get out of my way?
When I had that, my therapist smacked me upside the head the first time I said something about somebody else and why they don't do something. And she just basically said, because they don't have to.
Right.
They never have to. For the rest of their lives, they can be exactly who they are. And that's it.
Yep.
And it's like, oh.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the only thing you can control is your business. That's it.
I like it.
Yep.
All right, number 3, know that you have full ownership over your feelings. When we base our feelings on other people's opinions, we are allowing them to control our lives. We're basically allowing them to be our puppet master, and then they pull the strings just right. We either feel good or bad. If someone ignores you, you feel bad. You may think she made me feel this way by ignoring me, but the truth is she has no control over how you feel. She ignored you and you assigned meaning to that action. To you, that meant that you are not worth her time, or you are not likable enough, smart enough, or cool enough. Then you felt sad or mad because of the meaning you applied. You had an emotional reaction to your own thought.
Yeah, that's a strong one.
Yep. When we give ownership of our feelings over to others, we give up control over our emotions.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's another. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Hannah.
Yeah. The only one that can hurt your feelings is you.
Yep.
And you're also assuming they did something a lot of times too. Like if like the ignored one is what triggered that thought in my head. Because how many times do you think somebody ignored you or they ignored someone else is like, yeah, did you see they completely snubbed me? Meanwhile, their mind was going in a total different direction. It wasn't on purpose. They just whatever, and it's like they weren't trying to hurt you, but you assumed they ignored you and then you got hurt based on the assumption. So you've now reacted to a distorted thought.
And that's her last paragraph is all you have to do is change a thought. That's it. Now, it may take a while to find that thought, but that's all it is.
Yeah.
You're reacting to a thought.
Yep.
So once you do question it, accept it, challenge it, your emotions will follow.
Yep.
And it's just a thought. And that's what's amazing, how simple that actually is.
It's so true. Yeah. Because it is.
I'm not saying it's easy.
Right.
But it's that simple.
Yep. Yeah, that's why I said it's so easy for us to do that. And we can all think of a time probably where, whether it's yourself or someone else that, like I said, someone's talking with you and they're like, well, I don't know why they did this. It was probably blah, 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 blah. And then they start like trying to figure it out. And it was like, whoa, time out. Like, just stop. Because, if you think they did this, Now you're assuming intent. You know, you're assuming their action was whatever. Then you're assuming their intent. Now you're reacting to that assumption. You know, it's like this. Just all that does is take you down a bad rabbit hole. And, you know, and like you said, in the end, all it does is it makes you miserable because you never go down those rabbit holes for anything positive.
Well, that's it. That's,
You know?
I look at it this way is if it's so easy for you to chase that thought one way, it should be equally as easy to let it go. Well, if it is too easy to let it go, then maybe you like it the other way a little too much. If thoughts always go to anger, then maybe, and I can't get out of it, then maybe I'm liking being angry.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I need to look at. If my thoughts go to dark places rather than light, then maybe I actually kind of like being there, and I need to figure out why.
Well,
why is it that I like it here?
I think there's a lot of it that's, you know, because we all know people who really seem to enjoy trying to figure out intent on things. Yeah. Like they read too much into everything. You know, like they'll be watching a TV show and they'll try to figure out a person's intent. And I don't mean like a movie. I mean like a, you know, reality show or a competition cooking show. And they're this kind of person. It's like, you don't know that. You're seeing them on TV. It's edited. It's all that, you know, like there's so many reasons for you to not go down that way. Also, like you just said, Heno, it's like, why is your first thought immediately taking a step to the negative? Why can't you assume that their intentions are good? Why do you always assume? And I think a lot of that comes back to, especially people, and I can speak on this as a, you know, person with depression, is a lot of times you assume the world hates you. So what you're doing is you're assuming that they hate you so that you can steel yourself to deflect it and or respond to it. So you have a game plan. And it's all in control at that point, right? Like you want to control the narrative. Well, if they're going to be a jerk to me, I'm going to be a jerk to them. I'm not going to let them hurt me. And in the end, you know, like I said, so many times you're ready to go off half-cocked on somebody. And there's been a lot of TV shows where this has been a premise, basically, to where someone thinks someone was a jerk to them, so they're getting ready to really lay it in on them, and then they find out that it was a totally innocent mishap or whatever, and then they look like a jerk in front of the other person. And
Romeo and Juliet.
You know, a lot of us have been in that exact scenario to where you're just like, you know, like, oh, you didn't mean to hurt me. Oh, now, boy, do I feel like a real, you know, naughty word here. You know?
No, at the end of Romeo and Juliet, and spoilers, just in case.
I mean, it is pretty.
That is
well,
awesome.
the funniest part is like the last time it was done as a movie was like 25 years ago or something. So it was, you know, that's what made me laugh was even if you forget the Shakespeare part of it, just the fact that the last time it was done in like a movie style that I can think of anyway was, you know, the DiCaprio one.
Well, so, for those who are not familiar with the ending of Romeo and Juliet, it's two star-crossed lovers, families fight, blah, blah, blah. Not supposed to, but they love each other anyways, and they're going to get, you know, married and stuff. Well, they hatch this plan that they're going to go and and Romeo ends up taking a poison to put him to sleep so that people can think that he has died. And somehow Juliet doesn't get the memo and thinks he died and sees the bottle next to him. So she kills herself. Well, he wakes up and sees that she killed herself, so he kills himself. All we needed to do, let's clue Juliet in. Now, completely bastardized this. 100%. So I apologize for all the Shakespearean folks out there because I know I missed a whole bunch and I got everything wrong.
No, I think you summed it up good enough.
I think that was
I wish my English teacher in high school would have summed it up like that. I would have been much less miserable.
I wish the Cliff that's like the Cliff Notes of Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. That's the TLDR for sure.
Yes.
Highly good read. 2 thumbs up. Back to our scheduled programming.
Number 4, know that you are doing your best. One of the annoying things my mom would say growing up, and she still says, is you did the best you could with what you had at the time. I hated that saying.
Me too.
I had high standards of myself, and I always thought that I could have done better. So when I didn't meet those expectations, my inner bully would come out and beat the key rap out of me. How much of your life have you spent kicking yourself because you thought you said something dumb, or because you showed up late, or that you looked weird? Every time you did the best you could. Every single time. It's because everything we do has a positive intent. It may not be obvious, but it's there. So then she goes on to tell a story about being at a tea shop in Maine and chiming up with some unsolicited advice, and the person that was at the counter turning and kind of giving a dirty look. and she basically says, well, I did the best with what I had. It's a phrase that I heard that annoyed me as well when I got sober. But when I finally had, it was another one of those little moments of clarity where I suddenly understood what that meant, and it really helped me with other people when I would be disappointed in other people, and this is not to demean them in any way, but it was this realization: oh well, they're doing the best they can with what they have.
Yeah,
meaning that in their situation or whatever it is that's going on in their lives, their ability to, maybe meet my expectations is limited, and it allowed me to accept them and to also give myself a break, because there were things that I was ashamed with behaviors, and especially when it came to anything romantic where emotions were just killing me. It was like, well, you did the best you could with what you had, and you didn't have a whole lot going. You're a little squirrely.
Right.
Or just you're just having a bad day.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense though too, right? Yeah. Like, because when we analyze someone else, like, how you see a lot of it on the internet now, to where they're like, hey, don't be mean to people because you don't know what they're struggling with. And that goes in that same vein, right? Like, it's easy for me to look at someone else. It's why we can give tremendous dating advice to other people and be terrible at it ourselves or whatever, because you can see flaws and you can see the car crash coming. But when you're in the car, sometimes you can't, and that's, so it's easy to, should someone to death basically, or whatever in that scenario, because you can see it, because you're not in the forest at the time, so you're not the one dealing with self-doubt or depression or blah, blah, blah at that exact moment, or whatever outside influences are making their decisions. Yeah, maybe they should have blah, blah, blah for their finances, but maybe you didn't understand that they also have this and this and this, cutting into their money or whatever it is. So, it is amazing how quick a lot of us will just jump at somebody over stuff like that. And it's like, you don't know the whole story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also ourselves, and this leads to the fifth one, is this is how we learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? If
don't make any.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at that you're doing the best you can, you at least allow yourself to look at that and say, okay, all right, yeah, I could do better next time, but I don't have to beat myself up, because I was just doing the best that I can.
Yeah.
And the knowing that everyone makes mistakes, and this is about self-compassion more than anything, but it's she goes on about living in a culture where we don't often talk about how we feel. But when we do, it turns out, guess what? We all experience the same feelings.
Yeah,
we all make
crazy.
Mistakes. Wow, shocking.
Yeah, right?
Right? Even if you're trying to do steps 1 through 4, you're still gonna make mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the main thing is, learn the lesson. No self-bullying required.
Mm-hmm.
None. And she has a great story at the end where she sums up all 5 of these that I'm going to read. It says, at my last company, I accidentally caused a company-wide upset. A friend and coworker of mine who had been at the company for a few years had been asking to get a better parking spot. One came available as someone left the company, but he still was passed over. He's such a nice guy, and as my department was full of sarcastics, and I could totally see Jen doing this, I thought it would be funny to create a pun-filled petition for him to get the better spot. I had no idea that it was going to be taken so poorly by some people. It went up the chain of command and looked like our department was full of unappreciative, needy
man.
whiners.
Oh man.
Oh, wow.
And our boss thought it looked like I used my position to coerce people into signing it. He brought the whole department together and painfully and uncomfortably called out the whole terrible situation and demanded it never happen again. I was mortified.
Oh my.
He hadn't named me, but most people knew I created it. I was so embarrassed and ashamed. But here's what I did. 1, I reminded myself of my values. I value compassion and humor. I thought I was doing a kind and funny act for a friend. Number 2, when I found myself worrying that other people must now think of me, I told myself that if they thought poorly of me, of which I had no evidence, all I could do was continue to be my best me. 3, when flashbacks of that awful meeting came back to mind, flushing my face full of heat and shame, I remembered to take ownership over how I felt and not let the memory of the event or what other people think dictate how I feel now. There's your thought. 4, I reminded myself that I did the best I could with what I had at the time. I had a desire to help a friend and an idea I thought was funny and assumed it would go over well. 5, I realized that I made a mistake. The lesson I learned was to be more considerate of how others may receive my sense of humor. Not everyone finds me as funny as my husband does. I can make better decisions now because of it. And after a short time, the whole incident was forgotten.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. Boy, that really, really could have taken a turn for the worse on that, though. Like, you could see somebody maybe getting fired for something like that. Because if they did feel she was trying to coerce others into, controlling something, and that how petty all that would seem, and, Now, one thing that's weird to me about that scenario is, like, I'm curious about little details, like, did her boss call her in and say, hey, what the heck? Or did they just do the team meeting? Because they really probably should have brought in her and had a direct conversation, like, to find out what was going on there.
I want to see the petition. I think it sounds
that
hilarious.
too. Yeah, I was going to say that was part 2 of what I was saying. Yeah, I want to read this because I'm sure, because you know how it is in any work environment, you could be the funniest person at work, but people don't always take everything as funny, especially if it's written in a way that they aren't sure, because you're probably, unless you're putting like, laughy emoticons at the bottom of it or something to that effect,
Her about is so great. It says, Sandy is your resilience Sherpa, guiding big-hearted women leaders up Anxiety Mountain, carrying your pack and cheering you on while you climb your way to become the most zen badass version of yourself. From the boardroom to the family room, using the graceful resilience method. Catch your free training on how to trust your empowered action.
Nice.
I love it.
I love it.
Pretty
It just
great.
made me laugh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
She's got really great energy, that's for sure.
Yeah. One other thing I
God.
wanted to point out was, I think was it the last one? I think it was, where it talks about, or the fourth one, whichever, where it's doing the best with what you got. Is, I think when, how like you'll hear somebody say, I live my life with no regrets kind of a thing. I think that is more of what you're looking for there, is not no regrets, but if you always look back and go, you know what, I did the best I could with what I had at the time. I feel like you're, like she was saying, that self-bully doesn't show up as much or as harshly in those scenarios, because you're willing to forgive yourself a mistake because of whatever was going on at the time. Like, hey, you took all the factors you had at that time. You did the absolute best you could. There was, and at the time you felt like that was the best decision. Looking back, maybe it wasn't, but you don't know, because you don't get to see both scenarios play out. To where you could actively really look back and go, okay, you know what? I should have chosen the right road, not the left road, whatever. So, I think it really does lead to self-compassion if you can really give yourself that room and say, I did the best I could with what I had at the time. I think that, especially knowing that you're a person that will look back and rerun things, if you're that kind of person, I think that's a much kinder move for yourself in the long run.
there's a just quote that happens to be underneath it for a link that says, "Never be defined by your past. It was just a lesson, not a life sentence." But that's what we like to do to ourselves.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So true.
Live our lives in purgatory.
Yep.
Yep.
So, well, guys, I think we're pretty good, right?
Yep.
Neat. All right, folks. Well, we've covered an absolute ton of different information today, personal as well as through the article. So I know you have things you would like to share with us. So if you would like to continue the conversation, you know what to do. You can reach us at the crazylifepodcast.weebly.com. Sorry, a text message just came through when I was thinking there. Anyways, you can reach us via email at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. And if you would like to reach me, feel free to shoot us an email, or you can also reach me through Facebook. Brian will tell you the information on that shortly. And Henno, how can they reach you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ida Henno. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and all that if you just look for Henno Heiter. And if you want to check out my other podcast, Moving the Needle Podcast, you can find us on Twitter at MTNPod. And we just did, actually, it is not up yet, but it will be up any minute because Sean just needs to do the show image. We did a versus. One of the movies was called Coherence, and the other one was called The Invitation. And so they're both like dinner party movies that are supposed to be psychological thrillers. So that should be out any day. It was one of those ones where I think the podcast was more fun than the actual films themselves. One of them is really, one of them was the clear winner. So what always happens on those is the one that's not the winner, we actually end up talking more about than the winner. Yeah. Because we're tearing it apart. So
right.
That makes sense.
And then the coming up pretty soon, we did a versus we recorded with Tremors and a movie called Chud.
Oh, I remember the like box for that movie, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, that was something.
Tremors I've seen a bunch of times, but not so much with the other movie.
Yeah, that'll be out in a week or two, so we'll have a couple episodes up for September.
Good times.
Nice.
All right. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at StuNami. You can find my other podcast at salty_language on Twitter or at saltylanguage.com. The show's not safe for work, and it's just me and my best friend talking about, people eating on podcasts, Post Malone, strong margaritas, lizard flares, my introduction to the Amazon Fire Stick, just random stuff like that. So if any of that sounds good to you, please give us a check or a listen. And, again, not safe for work, so be careful who's around when you're listening. And this show is part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. We can be found on Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast and on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod. Forgot that part. The Crazy Life Pod, where I post when the new episodes go up. I think that's all the links. So if if you need help, please reach out. Please talk to your doctors, friends, somebody. There's all sorts of people out there willing to. I mean, it's amazing just over the years how many times I've seen somebody just on Twitter even be like, "Hey, is anyone up? I just need someone to talk to," kind of thing. And see people immediately be like, "Yeah, what's going on?" kind of thing. Just complete strangers. Because we understand, especially the late night Twitter people, a lot of us are the insomniacs or the anxiety ridden folks. So, we understand that, at night is when your thoughts like to eat you. So, but please reach out and check in on your friends, make sure they're doing okay if you can. There is something I want to mention really quick because somebody in one of my Twitter groups had this happen to them, and it's something a lot of people don't think of, which is if you are a person who is in a position that needs like severe help or, you're having thoughts of self-harm or something of that ilk, please be careful when, like if someone else happens to post, hey, I'm going through a really rough time, you don't, like, be careful posting something because what happened with her was she was posting that she was going through some really rough stuff and having a hard time, and someone just DM'd her and basically was like, yeah, I'm sitting here with a gun, thinking of ending things. And it's like, it's understandable that you want to try to find like minds, but also that kind of trauma onto somebody who's already in a bad way can spiral them as well. So just, if you can help it, please try not to do that. If you're in those kind of situations, please reach out to a crisis line, a doctor, go to the hospital, a close friend who, something to those things. Because, I hate to even say, you can put somebody in a really bad mindset that's already in one. You could, make their situation worse as well. And especially if, I know no one really means to do that. So it like I said, if you can, please try not to, trauma dump on somebody who's already in a bad way.
Yeah.
Especially uninvited. Like, this was someone she had never talked to before. It'd be different if it was somebody she knew or something, to where it's like, okay, hey, maybe we can help each other out. And I think that was the intent more so, but it's like, ooh, that's rough. So please try to be careful with that. I also understand when you're in that kind of mindset, it's tough to have clarity. So, yeah. It's a good tension break there. And with that, I was going to say, please be kind to one another and try to put good energy out there. Laugh at life, even when it seems too heavy to laugh at. It's the advice that I'll always give people. It's one of the things that really helped with the, heaviness of that we knew my dad was going to die to cancer. We're just not going to stop laughing. We're going to keep laughing at things that are funny, because even faced with that weight, things are still funny. And, you really need to laugh to move on, to keep going in life sometimes, so please, like I said, be kind, find a laugh when you can, and, I don't know, don't be a jerk.
Your dad's cha-cha was not cha-cha, your, what's it called?
The curtsy?
No.
Oh.
The dun 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 da.
Oh,
dun,
yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Whatever dance that is. That's my favorite
like the
dance
conga
I've
line.
ever seen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
conga line.
Yeah.
So your dad doing the conga line will forever and always be the absolute most favorite dance ever.
Yeah.
Shaking his little bony butt.
Yep.
And just to make us laugh.
That was one of the best lessons he could have ever taught me.
Yeah.
And him and my mom had taught me that lesson before that.
Yeah.
But to know that he knew, like, I'm dying, and he still was like, this is funny, I'm going to laugh at it. And I'm going to still try to enjoy life and have fun and be funny. So that's why
That's his legacy, is that we all learned quite a bit from him.
Right.
His legacy.
Yeah.
So with that, everyone go out there, have the absolute best week you possibly can. And thank you for listening to the very end. We love all three of you. So see you next week or 2 weeks.